This meeting is called to order at 6:31 p.m. on Monday, October 2nd, 2017. This meeting is being recorded. I move to accept the minutes of our previous meeting of September 25th.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes of September 25th are accepted. Let's go over the announcements. Tomorrow night, school board meets at 7 p.m. in the high school library. All are invited. Wednesday, the October 4th, the Gay Kimball Library Board of Trustees will meet at 4 p.m. at the library. A couple hours later at 6 p.m. we have pumpkin carving at the Samuel E. Paul Community Center in anticipation of the weekend's activities. On Thursday the 5th, Budget Committee meets across the hall at 6:30 and Festival Committee is meeting in here at 6:30. Is that correct, Barb?
Correct.
Okay.
No, the
Well-
budget committee meets at the Samuel E. Paul Community Center now.
Okay, Budget
on.
Committee is on the run. Now they're going to move over to the Community Center for their meetings.
And there is no Festivals Committee meeting on Thursday.
There is not.
No.
Okay. All right, so Friday, the 6th, the Troy Mini Pumpkin Fest from 6 to 9 p.m. on the Common.
Correct.
And Saturday, breakfast at the Community Center, sponsored by the Recreation Committee and the Senior Citizen Club. That's from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., $7 for adults, $3.50 for under 10. And then from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the Common is the Fall Festival. Now, there's no Selectmen's meeting next week, so we have a few things going into next week. Monday is Columbus Day. On Tuesday, 9 a.m. here at Town Hall, the Joint Loss Management Committee will be meeting to look at this building and what else, Alissa?
I can't remember. I think there's a bunch of them.
Okay. And then at 7 o'clock that night, we have the public hearing at the Samuel E. Paul Community Center. That's the hearing on the Georgiani Trust Fund. Then Thursday, the 12th, Budget Committee meets, 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. and all of the meetings are now at the Community Center. Is that correct? Okay. Friday and Saturday is Amnesty Day at the transfer station. Friday, noon until 4:30. Saturday, 8 until 4:30. And information on that is in the Troy Town News. And then Monday, October 16th, will be our next meeting here at 6:30 p.m. So, got a lot going on over the next 2 weeks.
I got a couple of things to add to
Okay.
that, actually. The rec committee meets tomorrow night at 7. All is welcome
That's at the Community Center?
at the community center. The planning board meets Wednesday at 7 here at Town Hall, across the hall there.
Anything on their agenda that might be interesting?
I do not know off the top of my head.
Okay.
So, and then Friday, October 6th, roller skating at the Troy School, 6:30 to 9. And then that's all I got.
Okay. Bob, you have anything for announcements?
You read it all.
Okay. Anybody else got anything for announcements? Okay. Let's hold old business and get right into the budgets. And Bob, you're first.
I am first.
Recreation program.
Okay. I'd like to bring up the same budget that we had last year. We seemed to make it work this year.
All right.
And we had thought about doing an addition to the, because there's no ACES program, but I don't think it's in the budget I don't think we can do it this year. I think we need to look at it and see if it's a long-term thing. But,
Okay.
we'd like to add lifeguards this summer. And swimming lessons. And with the current budget that we have, I think we can probably do that.
Okay. Well, looking at your budget for 2017, we budgeted $1,000 for telephone, but we've only spent $179 3/4 of the way through the year.
I don't know what's up with that. Somebody else paying my phone bill? Because
I'd like to meet them if they are.
I'd like to too. I'd like to give them my personal phone. But I'm on the same plan as Jim and Chief Ellis, and is it not being divided up
Yeah, it is.
equally?
Yeah, well, you have a separate number.
Well,
It's billed by number.
All
Has
right.
any money been taken from it?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
179.70, I get that just on my phone. That's not, something doesn't seem right to that figure to me.
Okay, Alissa, would you look into that? Because if the 179 figure is accurate, then I think $1,000 is way too much to budget.
Mm.
And we'll adjust that figure going forward. Training, hiring, and testing, we budgeted 1,000, haven't spent anything.
We actually did. We spent $57 on training for the first aid class. Last year
Okay.
we almost maxed it out. This year I was lucky enough to find a lady that was certified to teach first aid and CPR and everything like that. And she did the class for her cost of supplies.
Okay,
Whether I can do that next year or not, I don't know. And everybody that's certified right now, as far as on the rec committee and part of the summer staff, will be expiring before the summer, so we're all going to have to get recertified.
all right, so we need to keep that 1,000 in
It
there.
could go as high as $1,000.
Okay,
Or unless I get lucky, it might be less.
all right. Recreation programs, we had 500 budgeted and didn't spend anything.
That, I think we talked about that last year. Wasn't that something to do with the seniors?
Well, it was partly the seniors.
Yeah.
Originally, there were two separate lines. One just said recreation programs and one said senior programs,
Yeah.
and we combined them.
Yeah.
And but we're not assigning any expenses to that line. So I'm wondering, do we need that line?
Maybe instead of removing that line and that money, maybe what needs to be done is looking at the rest of the budget and seeing if maybe there was something that went for that we're putting in another fund. Maybe you should look at that a little closer, Bob, before we
Right.
eliminate that. All
Yeah,
right.
like I said, if we could keep it the way it is, we could. And I know, we're at what, 71% right now.
Correct.
Which is about where you should be.
Right.
Where we should be. We, it depend. First the.
Actually,
That's-
it's low. It's less than where you should be because your budget spikes in the summer.
Yeah. So we've done good.
Yeah.
So far.
All right. I'm comfortable keeping it where it is, except for that telephone line. I'd like to look into that further.
I think
And-
that's low. It's got
Yeah. So, Alissa, would you check that out and see what we should have spent so far, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to recommend keeping 1,000 in there or not. So, I'm going to move that we first. Barbara, do you have any questions of Bob?
No, I think that was.
Okay,
the
Curtis?
only thing.
No?
Okay. I move that we recommend a budget for the Recreation Committee of $31,001, subject to reducing it for the telephone. That's line 805, if we find out that we don't need that much in there. And is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the Selectmen's recommended budget for recreation is 31,001, subject to being reduced for that line for the telephone.
I abstained.
And,
Say again?
yeah,
I abstained.
he
Okay.
recuses himself from
All right.
voting.
It's still carried, even without you. Okay, Bob, you have any other questions for us?
No.
Okay. Barb, any questions?
No, are you going to stay? Well, no, we can finish.
We have other business to discuss with you,
Yeah.
Right.
other than your budget. So
So can you stay?
Yeah.
we're ahead of schedule, so yeah, you can.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Barb?
Oh, so we're going with Bob first so he can leave?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. The reason I'm having you return the key, we were told that the shed was never paid for. It was delivered and ordered by Mr. Copo.
Right.
Okay. It has never, ever been paid for. The gentleman that delivered it, set it up, wants his shed or the money. And Mr. Copo was let go by the school. So he is no longer in charge of the team. There supposedly is equipment in that shed. And the school is coming down, meeting me there. And we are going through what's in the shed to make sure that they get what belongs to them. So you have to turn in the key, Bob.
Well, has Mr. Copo been notified?
Mr.
First.
Copo has nothing to do with it.
It does, because he's the one that gave the key up. So it's as if we have nothing to do with this. This is not our
It's
land.
on our property.
It doesn't matter though. It's not our land.
Yes, it does matter.
Then have the guy that owns the shed repo the shed. Doesn't need a key to get into it to repo it.
Exactly.
And it becomes his problem.
But we have a key.
It doesn't matter though. The key was entrusted to Mr. Norton. So for us, there's no point of us getting into that key or getting into that shed. It's not our lane to give
What's
up a
in the
key.
shed?
Equipment.
Equipment that belongs to so-called the Diamond Devils or Mr. Copo. It's not our lane to give up this key to say
I'm
what
not
belongs
asking
to
about
what.
the key. I'm asking about the contents of the shed.
It's equipment.
Keene High School.
Okay. Keene High School
They-
owns
they
the
think
equipment
it might be something.
in the shed.
We don't have any documentation.
So, Bob, you have a key to the building,
I
right?
do.
Okay. So, is Keene High School coming down to pick up their equipment?
Yes, I talked to them this morning. They will meet me there. They want me to check to make sure the equipment is in there.
Okay.
Once I check, they were waiting for a call today. But Bob could not turn in the key until he came home from work.
I think Mr. Copo
So-
needs to be notified before we move
Mr.
forward.
Copo at this point has nothing to do with
He
it
does have
legally.
to do with it because he's the one that gave the key to Mr. Norton. As if, okay, same situation. I have my trailer that the roller skates that the town bought, paid for, and the racks are in my trailer right now. And I give a key to Mr. Norton, saying that he's the only one that's supposed to be able to get into that.
Is the
key that
trailer
has
on our
access.
property?
At some given points, yes, that trailer is on our property. But doesn't give any point for anybody to go and access that if they don't have the authority to get in there. It's not our lane. We don't have, it's not life or limb.
Do
and
I
we don't
call
have
the
a search-
police? I'll call the police.
I just talked to Dave actually about it, and he said the best thing to do is call Mr. Copo and let them figure it out. If Mr. Copo turns around and tells Norton that yes, go ahead, give him the key, whatever, then it's not. But right now, since nobody's contacted Mr. Copo, and he's the one that was entrusted with all this stuff, we need to give him the opportunity to get this right. And we're going on hearsay.
No, we are not going on
Barbara,
hearsay
Barbara, when were you supposed to meet the folks from Keene High School?
tomorrow.
What time?
No time. I have to call them.
Bob, what time could you be there?
He works.
I get out of work by about 5 o'clock at night.
All right, so-
And some days earlier, some days,
So 5:30 or 6 o'clock would work,
yeah.
right? Can they meet you at 5:30 or 6 o'clock?
Well, then they're not on school time. They're on their time.
That's their problem.
If they want to take the whole shed, that's their problem right now.
I spoke with Dave also.
They can't take the whole shed. It does not belong to them.
I'm talking about the person that wants to
I
repo
also
it.
spoke to Dave, and Dave said, tell Teddy, and I know Teddy, I served with Teddy in the police department for years, and if Teddy wants the shed, repo it, come down.
Who's
pick it up,
Teddy?
Take it. That's the guy that owns the shed.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
apparently, because Scopo hasn't paid for it.
So you knew this before you walked in here tonight?
I knew what before I walked in here. I got a phone
That it
call.
was not paid for?
I got a phone call this morning from Dicey telling me I had to turn the key into you, and I called, well, he texted me, and I called him up, I said, what's going on? And he gave me a brief story that the shed wasn't paid for. And that's all he said, you know, and that Copo was no longer,
Well,
and Copo was no longer working for the school. So that means to me that, but that, so I did check with David before I came down here, you know, because I wanted to make sure, you know, that, you know, I'm entrusted with that key. I have no problem. I asked him if the police are involved. He said no. I mean, that's a game changer if the police are involved. To me, that's a game changer. And I said, so what should I do? He said, he told me that, you know, that Jim should be called, Copo. I did try to call him. He didn't answer his phone. And if Ted Ferguson wants the shed, have him come down and get it. Have him repo it.
Okay, so
That
right.
becomes his problem, not ours.
So it's okay for us to use a shed that
Yeah,
was
we
never
use it.
paid for.
We didn't use that shed.
It's
That
not
shed-
our lane.
That shed was
It's
not-
on our land, Curtis.
It's
You're
not
missing
our
the
lane
point.
to give up any material inside of it, though. We don't know whose it belongs to.
If
not
it's
our
orange
lane.
and black,
Do we
it-
have anything in writing saying that there's a search warrant for it?
do you have anything in writing from Copo?
Exactly.
You
so
do?
he's not giving up any keys until he gets the permission from Mr. Copo saying yes, it's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
If Bob is there to open it, then he doesn't need permission.
If Bob wants to do that, if he
All right.
wants to feel that he, but then again, he's entrusted with all the equipment inside there. He doesn't not know
But-
what belongs to Keene School and what doesn't belong to Keene School.
Well, if it doesn't belong to Keene School, who would it belong to?
Diamond Devils.
It could belong to, we don't know. We're
We
not
don't-
that involved with this.
Truthfully, we don't.
Well, this Teddy, who
owns.
owns the shed, is he looking to repossess it?
We
Nobody's
don't
been called.
even know yet.
So, no, so he hasn't, well, how did all this start?
He did. The gentleman that owns the shed.
Teddy.
Went
Truthfully,
to,
the shed shouldn't even be on our property because it's not covered by our insurance.
But it is on
Correct.
our property, so
We had permission.
we take the problem as we find it. Teddy is the owner of the shed.
Right.
Jimmy was over at the rec center.
Well, let me take this a step at a time.
Okay.
Teddy is the owner of the shed.
Correct.
Has Teddy said, I want my shed back?
Teddy said, I want money for my shed. It's not paid for.
Who did he say that to?
Jimmy.
Jimmy Copo or Jimmy Dicey?
Jimmy Dicey.
Okay, and what did Jimmy Dicey reply?
He said he knew nothing about it and that he would tell the selectmen. He called me.
Okay.
This happened over the weekend and told me. And this is where we're at this point. It's on our property. We are responsible for what is on our property.
Okay,
I still think the first step we need to do is call Mr. Copo. He's not even in the loop. Nobody's even tried contacting him.
But
Yeah, Bob
why
did.
would he
Well,
be in the loop?
The one chance today. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, why would he be in the loop, Curtis?
Because he's the one that should have been paid for it. He was the one that organized this whole thing to be dropped off.
Right.
He was
so
the one
it
that was
ha-
in charge of giving the key to
At
Mr. Norton.
no time did that shed become the property of the Troy Rec Department or the town of Troy. The Diamond Devils asked for permission to put a shed down. I cleared it with groundskeeper, and he said he had no problems with us putting it there, with them putting it there. At no time did we take possession of that. At no time did we put any of our stuff in there. The only time the only reason that I have a key is in case we needed to get something for a game that we had down here, but it never became our possession.
but it is there with our permission.
Yes.
With
Okay.
Jim's permission, yeah.
The fact that we gave permission to put the shed there does give us a little bit of responsibility here.
Right.
I don't think that we should be telling Teddy to take his shed with all the equipment still in it.
He brought it that way.
I think we should also be.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's that again, Bob?
He brought it that way. That shed was full of equipment when they brought it. When he
Ah,
brought it.
okay, all right.
So what's in it, with any additions that Mr. Colpo or the Diamond Devils might have put in there,
All right.
Teddy brought it down, and you were there that day. It was chock full of baseball equipment, whether it be Diamond Devils baseball equipment, Keene High School baseball equipment.
We
And
don't
you
know.
got a clue.
Now, what is the connection between Diamond Devils and Keene High
Jim
School?
Colpo was the, or last I knew, he was the head of softball for the Keene High School.
All right, but what's their connection with the Diamond Devils?
Jim Colpo was the head of the Diamond Devils also.
Okay,
And,
so-
so he ran both organizations.
Let's try this, just as a suggestion. Would you continue to try and get a hold of him?
Yep.
Okay. Barbara, would you put Keene High School on hold for a minute? And not meet them tomorrow?
Sure.
If they come down here, you're not gonna be able to get in the shed.
Right. I think their problem is the situation was not, when he left, it was not amicable. And I think what they are worried about is if there is any equipment in there,
Right.
would he be taking it? That's why they wanted to check.
We have
Because-
cameras.
Well, that's between them and him.
Right.
Okay.
But I did not know equipment came in it
Yeah, we came full
when
of
it was
equipment.
delivered.
When Ted delivered it, Jim, Curtis, myself were all down there. And Jim Dicey, Curtis and I were down there. When Ted-
Okay.
Where,
then
now,
they-
the equipment that was in the shed when it was delivered, was that Diamond Devil equipment?
We don't know.
No,
Okay,
no idea.
okay. Who is the point of contact with Teddy? Who arranged with Teddy to drop that thing off?
Copo. We had nothing to do with
So
it.
technically, it should be between Teddy and Copo. That's why we should be notifying Copo and say, hey, listen, what's going on with this? This is the situation. He probably already knows
Okay.
what's going on.
I agree with you, Curtis, but if we can't get a very fast resolution with Copo, then it becomes our problem. Because it's sitting on our land.
Right.
But
This
we should
needs to
still
be taken care of.
exercise
We'll
the
give him-
phone call and
Yes, I
trying to
agree.
notify.
All right. So, Bob, would you continue to try and reach him?
Yep.
Now, we're not going to meet again for 2 weeks. I don't think we want to wait that
Oh,
long.
no, we are not
Right.
waiting, yeah.
So, let's say-
I'll continue it and then make some phone calls.
If we can't get a resolution
Mhm.
by this weekend,
By Thursday. the end of our work week here.
Well, Bob, are you available Friday during the day?
Nighttime.
Say again?
At nighttime.
Okay, so why Thursday?
Because he's got a contact here. He can, if
All
Bob
right.
gets
Well,
a hold
okay,
of
let me
it.
finish what I was going to say.
Okay.
And that may make more sense after you hear it. Okay?
Go ahead.
All right. We'll give him till the end of the week. If we don't reach Copo by, that may be him.
Yep.
It is, okay.
Yep. Yeah, hey, what's going on, Jim?
We don't care. Ask him.
I'm gonna just step out here.
Okay. All right, Barbara, here's what I wanted to do. I want to wait till Saturday. If we can resolve this, and of course I didn't know who was going to call just as we were talking about it, but if we can resolve this before the weekend, then fine. Otherwise, have Bob meet you there and have the folks from Keene meet you there on Saturday morning.
Why do they have to come when they're not working?
Why would Bob have to get out of work to go do it?
Well, he doesn't. I could meet him there.
You don't have a key.
Well, no, he could give it to me.
He won't.
This is ridiculous. This whole situation is ridiculous.
Well,
It's
the situation is what it is. So we deal with it as we find it. So what I'm thinking is this, if Bob walks back in here, we'll find out what's going on. But if Mr. Copo gives Bob permission to give you his key, we're all set. You can be Keene tomorrow.
Okay.
If he says no, we'll see what he does say. There's really no point in
Okay,
discussing it until
no.
you find out what's going on
Who
with this
has the
discussion.
insurance on the shed?
I don't know, Curtis?
I don't know.
So
Nobody.
there's no insurance sitting on a shed
And
that's
it's
on
on
our
our
property
land.
and we have no record of that.
Right.
How can Mr. Copo give permission to give a key to a shed he doesn't own?
It's his key.
Touche.
It's his key. We were under the impression that he would bought this shed, which,
Well-
if he's making payments on it, whatever, that's
Whether-
his prerogative. It's not our land.
Whether
to
he
give it
paid
to
for
him.
the shed or not is irrelevant.
Right.
He made arrangements to have that shed brought in there. Whether he paid for it or not is between him and Teddy.
Correct.
Our position is the shed is sitting on our property with our permission. We want to let Teddy take it back, but we don't want him to take it back with Keene High School's equipment. So if Keene High School has equipment in there, I want to give them a chance to get their stuff out of the shed before he takes it.
Or if the Diamond Devils have their stuff in there. 'Cause we
It
don't
sounds
know
like
who-
their stuff was in it when it was delivered.
Well, we don't know that. That's what we need to wait.
Well,
He
if,
said that.
if Copo is no longer affiliated with Keene High School, that doesn't mean he's no longer affiliated with Diamond Devils.
Right. So, but there might be stuff that belongs to the Diamond Devils in there as well.
Right.
We don't know this.
Right.
When, can I ask something?
Sure, go ahead,
When the
Jody.
selectmen or whomever gave permission for the shed to be located there.
It wasn't us.
It wasn't the selectmen.
No, we're hearing about this for the first time, at least I am.
Okay.
I was present when it was got delivered, and Jim Dicey, myself, we both didn't have any issues with it being there because it was. there
And
was
it's on
no
the
issue.
ball field down at Sandin?
Mhm.
Yes.
Did anybody provide any way of insurance when you guys were all down there? Did anybody say, hey,
That wasn't even brought up actually.
While we're waiting, complaint on Richmond Road, this old business. Deadline is October 18th, so we're still waiting on that. Ridley map, anything further, Barbara, on Ridley?
No, we're still waiting for the insurance company.
Okay, job descriptions, Alissa,
They're working.
they're working on job descriptions?
Yeah, but we have no deadline, so,
Okay,
and this week, nothing will be done.
okay, fine. Okay, forensic audit, letter went to the county attorney, have we heard back from them yet?
no?
Okay, we know they received it because we sent it certified. And we have a request from a reporter at the Keene Sentinel, wants a copy of the forensic audit. And earlier today I told Alissa, don't release it yet.
No. Right.
Well,
Good.
until we hear back from the county attorney.
Okay.
Now, if the county attorney says they're not going to pursue it, then we'll release it to the world.
Wonder if we want to pursue it.
Well, we can discuss that. But at this point, we're not going to release that because charges may be pending.
Right.
Okay. So that's our justification for not releasing that.
Ever, maybe.
Well, no, that's not going to happen. Okay. Fundraiser. Alissa, anything further on that? Is that ever going to happen, I wonder?
I do not know.
Okay. Troy Redevelopment Group. Curtis, anything further on that?
Haven't heard nothing. Stagnant.
Okay. West Hill Road complaint. We talked about that last week. The motorhome is gone. They're cleaning that up. There's a large dumpster on the property, and they've got until the 12th, a week and a half from now, to clean everything up. It looks good. Central Square complaint. This is the. Okay, we'll come back to that. Oh, hi Norm. I thought you were Bob Norton coming back in. Okay, Central Square complaint. We've passed the deadline, and it appears that nothing has been done over there.
I agree.
Barbara,
What?
would you please contact Cy Little?
Oh, sure.
Discuss it with Cy. I'm asking you to do that because you generally deal with him. And we would like to get an injunction ordering the property owner to clean it up.
Okay, do I have one question
Sure.
if I'm doing this? I have a very big week this week.
Yep.
I'm tied up. Tomorrow morning I'll be here at 8:30 every day.
Cancel your plans.
Not happening.
Okay.
So can we do this? I'll contact him on Friday if I can.
Fine.
And we'll pursue
Fine.
me going in to see him
It's
the
been,
following
it's been like
week.
that for years.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
Okay, Amnesty Day. I think we've covered that extensively, and all information on that is in the Troy Town News.
Right.
And if anybody has any questions, they can call here and ask Alissa. Okay, public hearing on the 10th. Now, Curtis, you're not going to be attending it. We just found out that you'll be leaving that day, a day earlier than you anticipated.
Yes.
So the plan right now is that we'll open that hearing. Alissa, you'll be there to take the minutes, correct?
Yes.
You're nodding yes, okay. I'll introduce the trustees of the trust funds. They will make their presentation. We'll have the audio-visual system set up. We're going to talk to Bob about that when he gets back in. We'll hook up a laptop computer to it so that if the trustees have anything that they want to show that they bring in either on a flash drive or on a CD or DVD, we can show that on the screen. And then when we get into the comments and suggestions portion of it, grab another chair, Bob.
Go on right there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Someone will be at the computer to type it in, so we'll project on the screen. And then we'll be able to save that as a document to bring back here for our meeting the following week. Okay? Any questions on the hearing? Bob, before we ask you about the phone call, we're talking about the public hearing to be held on October 10th
Yep.
at the community center.
Yep.
We want to hook up a laptop computer
Yep.
that will be able to project onto the screen.
Yep.
Do we have the capability of doing that?
Whose laptop?
Yours.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't know what the trustees of the trust funds will be bringing with them.
Okay.
Whether they'll bring a flash drive with a PowerPoint presentation or a CD or nothing. But if they do, can you put that in the computer and project it?
Yep.
Okay. And then what we would do is set up, does it have Microsoft Word on it?
Mine does, yes. Word and I believe PowerPoint too.
Okay. What we want to do is for the second part of the hearing, which would be the majority of the hearing, where people make comments and suggestions. If somebody says, well, I think it should be used to fund recreation programs, we would type in recreation fund or something like that. So that all the suggestions get projected onto the screen, but also saved so that we can have a copy to discuss at our next Selectmen's meeting.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Can you operate the computer and make sure that happens?
Yeah.
okay, good. Thank you, Bob.
I type slow though.
Well,
No,
this is not going to be like taking transcription. It's going to be somebody comes up and makes a suggestion. It's going to be 1 or 2 words bullet point.
Okay.
I was gonna do it, but my travel day to go down to Fort Hood has been moved to the 10th.
Yeah, he called the Pentagon and had to move him up a day so he wouldn't have to do this.
Did you call Donald?
I got him on speed dial.
So are you going to be attending that hearing that night in absentia?
If somebody calls and puts me up
All right,
on
we can do that.
speaker.
All right, now, Bob, what happened with your phone call with Mr. Copo?
Okay. Mr. Copo says that he owns the shed.
Okay.
And he'll call Teddy Ferguson tomorrow morning and straighten that out.
So does he have a bill of sale?
I'm just telling you what Mr. Copo said. He said he'd call Teddy Ferguson tomorrow morning and straighten it out. And I said, look, you know, there's a matter about the key and everything. Key and High wants to go in there and look at what's in there. He said if Key and High wants to go into that shed, they can contact me directly and I will bring them over there. I would be more than willing to take them through. And then he mentioned something about his attorney was already in notice and stuff. So, you know what?
What a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Personally, the best thing to do is if he hasn't paid for it and Teddy wants it, then you should just come down.
Yeah,
Take it
that's
away.
what's gonna happen, because it's,
Drive it away. Drive
Yep.
it away, and then it's out of our hands. It's out of our problem. We don't have nothing to do with it, and then they can fight it out themselves in court or whatever. And
If Teddy picks up that shed and moves it from our property,
yeah,
we're totally out of it.
out of it
Right.
completely.
and
The
that's
moment
what's
it
gonna
clears,
happen.
the moment it clears the parking lot.
Right.
But we can't suggest that he do that.
No.
Because we do have some responsibility here since it is on our property without permission. But Barbara, it looks like your plans for tomorrow with Keene High School will probably not.
No, I think what I'm going to do is I will call the athletic department tomorrow morning at the high school. In fact, I'll call them from here and tell them that we are not allowed access
Okay,
to the interior.
which is true.
And the owner of the shed that we know of
Right.
needs to go to and parcel it out with Mr. Coco.
Mhm.
It's not our responsibility.
Right.
And if they want the equipment that's in there, they can contact him. I don't see that happening, but
Okay,
that's how we'll leave it.
good.
And
Case
that's
closed.
too bad.
Case closed, right?
Yeah, that's really too bad that it had
Okay.
to turn into this.
Okay, so I think we're done with that issue,
With that issue.
and we're done with this item on the old business under the public hearing on October 10th. So we know we're all set on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you on that, Bob.
No problem.
Okay. Continuing, well, we won't continue old business.
Thanks, Bob.
No problem.
We'll skip ahead to zoning board budget. Since Jody is here.
Zoning board.
Yeah, so
What are all the rest of these people here for?
Jody, why don't you come up here and grab a chair close in so we can get you on the recording. Come on up right to the chair, to the table.
I'm sorry, what?
I meant pull the chair up to the table. I'm
Oh,
sorry. That way you can spread your stuff out if you need to.
In terms of the budget, I think the zoning board was in good position last year. I didn't come on board until, I'm not even sure when was it? Middle of the year, I guess, before we had an application.
It was late in the year because the budget committee was already
That's right,
in their
meeting at
meetings.
the library.
Yeah.
So we unfortunately didn't have the time that we would have liked for the training.
Mhm.
Some of the training that I had hoped people would be interested in. So I'd like to keep it where it is.
Each line in the budget?
Yeah. Did we have for, I can hardly read this, in advertising?
$36.90 spent, and he budgeted $85.
Okay, so that's about right. We could probably take a little off of that, and I think, and still be safe.
Yeah,
if
but
we're
that
doing the one-
advertising is for public notices, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And last year we had the one case. This year we already have one.
Yeah. And I think next year, the way things are going now, I think you're going to have a few more.
Right.
So I wouldn't reduce that line.
Okay.
Let's talk about zoning board clerk. That's $200. That's for Henry, right?
Well,
Does Henry come to your meetings?
no.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay. Who is the
I'm
clerk?
not sure what that, and that brings me to what I wanted to talk to you about with, I said I had a couple of things that might be a
Okay.
little bit time consuming. I was asked at the last minute last year to be the chairman of the zoning board of adjustment. And people know that I've had 25, 30 years of experience in zoning. And so I said, sure, thinking that I was joining a board that was experienced in zoning. I think those folks came on board at the zoning board of adjustment the same day I came on, but I have 20 years of experience, and they had nothing. They had nothing. So I spent 2 weeks of my time putting together booklets that every member should have, that has all the town's laws and the state statutes, and sat down with them on more than one occasion and said, you know, the zoning board of adjustment is a quasi-judicial board. It's the last stop before we go to court. You got to get it right. You can't. I had someone during a hearing say, well, I think. No, you can't think. It's not about you thinking. It's about what's in this book. And you look back to and you say, oh, the statute says this. So based on what we know of the property and how we can relate it to every piece of paper in here, you know, trying to train people the thought process. I think they were trying hard, but 20 years later, you know, they would probably be able to, you know, I mean, we had the big, you know, the dollar store. I mean, they've got deep pockets. We can't make a lot of mistakes. So I spent a lot of time making these up. That's not the chairman's position or the chairman's job. So I wanted to speak to you about paying me that money for those 2 weeks of the time that I spent preparing and trying to prepare a board that was totally ill-equipped to do that.
Okay. In other words, we would appoint you as a zoning board clerk as well as
in
the
this
chair
instance,
in order to do that. You know a lot about this, so is there anything
do.
in the statute that would prevent us
no,
from having you as the clerk as well as the chair?
no,
Okay.
there isn't.
Barbara, what do you think?
I think it's fine. I happened to meet Jody when she was in the process of doing that before the zoning hearing for Dollar General. And at that point, I think she was about a week in, and she had spent days and days and hours trying to gather everything that would be pertinent to what they were having the zoning hearing for at that time. And she still had a lot to do. So I can attest to that she did put in a lot of time, a lot of hours, just to make sure that the committee itself would be doing exactly what it needed to do to deal with Dollar General.
Curtis, any questions or comments?
Is this just a one-time deal, or are you going to continue to be the clerk?
Well, that's something else I was going
Well,
to talk to
that
you
is a
about.
separate issue.
So that's a
We're
separate
talking about
issue.
2017.
I mean, previously that nobody was appointed to be the clerk. I have no problems with it
I'm
at all.
not sure who, I'm really not, I guess, did Cindy? I don't know. Did Cindy
Well,
used to?
before you took it over, the zoning board hadn't met for over a year.
So that maybe
because there were
just
no
got left by the
applications.
wayside.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what is happening is that Southwest, I don't know what you're paying for him on a line item or them on a line item, but I think you're paying a lot more than the town should pay, because you can use me. I know as much as all of them know. They taught me. So the answer to that is, I've been thinking, because of this, and because there's still more to do with the folks that I hope will still be there because we do have a case coming up right
Yes.
here.
That's the gentleman sitting right to your right.
Hello.
That is Mr. Rose.
Hi, you. Hi, I'm Jody McDermott.
Hi, Jody.
Nice to meet you.
meet you.
And to your right again is Mrs. Rose.
How do you do? Jody McDermott. So what the piece to this is that I'm going to be sitting down, not the chairman's job, to sit down, make sure this application has been filled out correctly from beginning to end in compliance with this. If it's done right, it's a couple of hours. I should be checking abutters. I should be checking, have they filled it out correctly? Before this was submitted, someone should have been sitting down with them and saying, let me help you go through this process. So I've been thinking about this ever since I took this on. I've been asked, would I join the planning board? I think the town of Troy isn't serving itself as well as it could if it had a land use person here in the office. I don't think anybody needs to be here full time, but I think somebody should be here to do all of that. And that's what I did. And you don't have to hire me. I don't care. But it's very hard for people. These applications are very, legalese. I mean, if you don't get it right, then you get it wrong, and then you're done until you go to court. So when I used to do this, I used to manage all the boards, not the selectmen, all the land use boards, Conservation Commission, Historic District Commission, Planning Board, Zoning Board, all the different boards. And I did the minutes. I was the one that strategized and had all the paperwork together for the board members when they came, or hopefully prior to the meeting. And I think the town would be well served to have that person. And it only came into my space when I started doing this. Every town around us has somebody. Some are full-time, some are part-time. I think here, part-time would be the way to go for all of those boards. Then you don't, and it would be offset by the cost that you're paying Southwest now. When I consult, I do a lot of consulting for towns.
By Southwest, you mean Southwest Regional Planning Commission?
Yes.
As opposed to Southwest Community Services, which
not South.
Okay, I agree with just about everything you said. One of the problems in doing that is finding somebody willing to do anything part-time. What we have talked about doing is creating a position in town government, and we're going to put in a warrant article for the next town meeting to create this position for a full-time building inspector / code enforcement officer. That person could also do this type of stuff. What I have found, since I've been on the select board now for 2 years, and I would say we spend more than 50% of our time on property related issues. Would you agree, Curtis?
Yeah,
Barb?
definitely.
Yeah.
What you were speaking about earlier with your complaints, that's something I used to handle for towns. Building permits, I issued the building permits. Anything to do with land was mine. Current use.
Yeah. One of the big problems that we have, though, is if you try to make a position part-time, there's no benefits involved. And it's just hard to find somebody willing to work part-time. If you go full-time, it costs a lot of money. I'd love to have a full-time building inspector, a full-time code enforcement officer, a full-time person to work with all the various committees, but that costs money. And even though other towns of similar size have them, most towns around here of similar size have much greater valuation of property, and therefore a lot more income coming in and much bigger municipal budgets. So that's what we're up against. Yes, we need all this stuff. How do we want to pay for it? And I'm not sure that we can withdraw from the Southwest Regional Planning Commission.
if you have a contract, you'd have to look and see what it says. But those are usually signed on yearly.
All right.
Um,
And then we've never looked into that, so I don't know what our obligation is there.
well, I don't think we need anybody full-time. I don't. I think you will be, I think you would be more hard-pressed to find a balance between the taxpayers saying, gonna hire somebody full-time. I think you would have a hard time getting that through a full-time person. I also don't think that the building piece, the building inspector piece, how many permits have you issued this year? 10, 15?
I'm not sure. Alissa?
15.
15, okay. Well,
You know-
you're right. We couldn't justify a full-time building inspector. We couldn't justify a full-time code enforcement officer. We couldn't justify a full-time person to work with the various boards and committees. But when you put them all together,
Then you think, well,
then I think you've got one full-time job. And they're all related.
we can't have a building inspector, I don't want to get into, it's, we haven't adopted a building code this town. So without having adopted a building code, we can't have legally a building inspector.
I think we can, because the state has a code. And by default, we go with the state code.
Right, but we are writing the new
Yeah.
zoning, and that will be included for the code and the inspector. That will be all part of what we're rewriting
Right.
in the zoning. So we will have them before anybody's hired.
Well, I don't want to be a building inspector. I don't mind doing the paperwork to facilitate between the selectmen and the various people, the fire chief, all the people that sign off on things. But I used to do that. I started doing that in Fitzwilliam, and thankfully my selectmen there said, they didn't think it was, men would come out and there were these, stuff. There was just stuff that I didn't want to be dealing with, and so anyway, that was my thought, to throw that out there. I'm certainly willing to do the work if you guys wanted to hire me. I don't want to work full time though. I own apartment buildings and I stay pretty busy with them.
Yeah.
But I would do 3 or 4 days. You might be able to offset. What is your hourly per week ceiling on full times versus part time?
Well, 35 hours is the cutoff for benefits. So if a person we have a lot of people working 40 hours a week. If they work if they're regularly scheduled for 35 or more, they get the full benefit package. If they're regularly scheduled for 34 or fewer, then the only benefits are paid holidays if you're scheduled to work on a holiday.
What if somebody was salaried? What if it wasn't an hourly rate, it was a set figure every week? What if it wasn't a hourly, I don't mean an hourly rate, I mean a number of hours. I don't know if that would work.
I don't know either, but that wouldn't affect the benefits, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay, that's what I meant, yeah.
No, if a person is regularly scheduled to work fewer than 35 hours a week, then there's no benefits.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Sure.
So I wanted to put my 2 cents in since I'm right there on your desk. And because I'm currently working through a situation that we're kind of talking about, I know for myself, it would have been extremely helpful if I had had a point of contact to go and say, what is it that I need to do? We would have expedited this quite a bit through that. And I understand that you folks are, kind of working through the new ordinances, and that's all new to you. But if you had someone in a position where you could definitely point somebody in a direction, this is where you need to go, and then she obviously is quite knowledgeable and can say, okay, this is what you need. Step 1 is this, step 2 is that, step 3 is that. I've learned this as I've gone, and there's been a little bit of a trial and error to get to the point where she finally has my paperwork, which I hopefully is
I'll take
filled
it
out
home with me tonight.
which is hopefully
I will
filled out
photocopy
properly.
it to take it home.
But it certainly would have expedited a lot of things. I would have not had, probably would not have had to come and ask for 2 extensions, you know, and taken up board time for that, if I could have gone directly to. And just it seems like she has a great knowledge basis, to say these are the boxes that you need to check. This is what this is what needs to happen, in an orderly fashion. Just to, again, expedite it, make it easier. Anything that, I myself have done has certainly been just out of lack of knowledge. And just because there hasn't been that really good direction to find it.
It's very intimidating when you look at that, you look at a series of papers, and the more you look at them, the more papers you need. And the more things you have to look at. So it is very intimidating for people. So I just thought I would dump that in your laps for your, I didn't realize that you might be thinking of hiring someone.
Well, we hadn't thought of in terms of what you suggested of hiring somebody to do all of the committee work.
Right.
We've been talking about building inspector / code enforcer.
Oh, okay.
And we
so
were
not
concerned,
the land use.
and we were
okay.
concerned.
No,
I
not you.
misunderstood.
No.
We were concerned that there wasn't enough work, even with those 2 positions combined, to justify a full-time job. But if we were also to expand it into working with the committees, I think at that point we probably would have justification
Oh, you would for sure.
that position.
It seems like you get a lot of complaints. I didn't look at the list. I don't know anything about
And
it.
they're property related. That's what I
Right.
said. Most of what we deal with on this job
All
is
of
property
that
related.
would come to that, is what used to come to me,
Yeah.
and I worked for the town of Ringe for many years, the town of Jaffrey for many years, the town of Fitzwilliam for many years, 10 years.
Yep. 3 very wealthy towns compared to Troy.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Yeah.
I
And
agree that,
I agree that we would love to, I'd love to create all these positions and fund them all. And if we were either a bigger town or a wealthier town, by wealthier I mean having a larger property value,
I get it.
we could do that. But the thing is, we can do whatever we want as long as we can find a way to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I say I think you could have this position that I described to you,
Yeah.
and I could still take the code enforcement, I think, and handle that piece. It would be offset. You could, I believe, I don't know, does anybody have any numbers on Southwest as we're looking through?
No, they're not yet.
How much do you know offhand, Alissa, how much we pay them each year? It's not that much. It's a few $1,000s.
I don't know, is she looking?
Yeah, she's on
Oh,
the
okay.
screen right there.
No, we're just kind of sitting.
Well, I was wondering if someone was waiting for me to say something.
No, you're good, Jody.
You see how I am? I jump right in with both feet and then see what happens.
2,348.
Say again, please?
2,348.
2,348. So that's all we're paying to Southwest Regional Planning Commission to be a member of that
And what are you
consortium.
paying Cy to do code enforcement stuff?
Nothing so far. Number 1's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
this will be
and-
the first time that we've gone this far
Mm-hmm.
with one of these issues.
So we're at 0 there,
Yeah.
so far.
And you think that there are going to be a lot more cases coming on for this board in particular? You know, it's really it's more than just
I know there'll be more than we had in 2016, which was 0.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably more. Yeah. I think there's probably going to definitely be more.
So I think that you could use somebody like me.
I agree. I know we could. I
Well,
just don't know how we're going to pay you.
yeah. Well, have to ask folks at town meeting, I guess. I'm not sure.
Well, we have a number of options at town meeting. We're going to put the full-time position out there as a warrant article. We also have to have a warrant article authorizing us to contract out building inspector duties, we could contact a building inspector in another town and pay them on a contract basis, meaning a 1099 instead of a W-2.
The town has
But
done
we
that
can't
before.
do that unless it's been approved by a warrant article at town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We could hire somebody as a town employee to do that
Mm-hmm.
and go through all the normal employment processes and pay them and do the withholding and give them a W-2.
Mm-hmm.
We're authorized to do that right now, but we can't contract it out. After we pass this warrant article at town meeting, we will be able to.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that we have to, that just means
I
that
understand.
we're authorized
Gives you the
to.
authority, yep.
So that's, you know, if we hire the person full-time to do this, then we never take advantage of that other warrant article. But we still want to have it passed,
Mm-hmm.
so that if we ever need it in the future, it's there.
That's all I have.
Okay?
Well, we
have
didn't
one
finish this.
piece of unfinished business. I move that we appoint Jody to be the clerk of the Zoning Board of Adjustment for 2017, as well as the chair.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So
Okay,
Alissa?
she also requested, oh,
Pay
the
for,
two, right,
Well, that's automatic now.
well, did you set up for 27?
For this year,
2017.
2017.
This is
So that's
2017.
automatic.
So Alyssa, will you, okay.
That's not gonna affect it. Is that an appointed position that the people that are on the ZBA have to appoint that?
No, that's a hired position.
Okay.
They elect every year. They can elect. I think he's talking about chairman.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I didn't mean
But
that
not
we were
clerk.
I didn't mean that we were appointing you the chair.
Right.
I meant we're appointing you to be the clerk in
To be
addition.
the clerk.
To-
Right.
Instead of, I didn't want to imply that we're making you the clerk instead of being the
Right,
chair.
right.
We're not bouncing you out of the chair. Okay?
You guys would be
No, we
hard
have a
pressed to
hearing
find someone
coming up.
else to
Let's
sit in
not
it.
do that.
All right, so Alyssa will take care of getting you paid for that.
Good enough.
Good.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
I think so. We're
Are
changing.
we voting on the budget? What are we
Yeah.
Oh,
doing?
yeah, we still have to work on that. So let's go down that. Zoning Board Clerk 200, we're gonna leave that as it is. Advertising we'll keep. Office supplies, looks right. Postage. Didn't spend anything on postage, and I'm wondering if we,
But she will be
Alyssa.
now.
do we bill or do we allocate money to, when we're sending out notices and all that? You,
They
could-
haven't
you-
had any yet this year.
I know, but if you did, how do you allocate to the various departments and committees if it goes through the postage meter in town clerk's office?
Marcy and Ralph have a spreadsheet,
Okay,
and they have different codes to put in, and then they give them to me every 6 months.
so that you can allocate it out. Okay,
Right.
okay, fine. So we'll leave that at 120.
And she, yes, because she has some coming up. She
Okay,
needs
publications, books, and periodicals. You had 80 budgeted, haven't spent anything?
I'd like to leave it there. Because if we start doing the training,
Yep.
we'll be going to their evening land use law lecture series, which are invaluable information. I urge all of you guys, if you get just invaluable information, and it keeps you up to date on all of the governmental changes every year. And those courses are $35 to $45 per person.
Okay.
And I would like to, but I don't want to.
Well, this only covers 2 people.
Well, no, that's publications, books, and periodicals.
That's what we
Training
would
down
take.
below.
And I
With a
would use
separate
those
line.
2 together because
Yeah.
we get the periodicals from the training.
Right.
Okay.
So it would really be
Those could be combined.
exactly.
All right. All right, so bottom line, you had 850 budgeted. You want to keep it at 850
That
for the
would,
coming
I
year?
think that would, I
Okay.
really do.
Barb, what do you think?
I think that's fine.
Curtis?
Let's stay with it, yeah.
Okay, I move that we keep the zoning board of adjustment budget for 2018 at $850.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the selectmen's recommended budget for ZBA will be 850.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Have a nice
welcome.
You
evening.
too.
Good night, Jody. Call me if there's any problem with that
I will.
envelope, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jody, hold on one second.
Okay, we don't have anybody from the planning board here yet. Let's just continue down, finish up old business. Fitzwilliam Road complaint, state sent the letter on that. We're out of that, right?
Right now we are, but
Okay.
maybe not for good.
but we don't need to bring that up at every meeting.
No.
Okay. Boston Cane. We're going to make that presentation Saturday at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Right. Okay.
On the common.
Would you please tell us exactly what will happen at 2 o'clock?
Alissa, I don't know if she's doing it.
Oh, I did not know that.
What's going to take place with Isabella Venn at 2 o'clock? How are we doing this?
You guys will bring her to the bandstand. Probably have to sit in front of it because she's not going to be able to get up
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
Somebody has to do some sort of speech about the Boston Cane.
I know nothing about it.
So in other words, there's no plan for this Saturday.
Yeah, everything else is planned.
Well, this apparently is not. Okay. How is she getting to the common?
Dave and I are going to make sure she gets here.
Okay. She arrives at the common. At 2 o'clock, you'll bring her to the base of the common. We assume that she will not be able to climb the steps. Okay. Who will make the presentation?
It comes from the select board, so
You're the chair.
Okay. And who will speak?
Would you please speak? I have a lot to do. I
right.
will be there at the end of the common. I will come up at 2, but it's kind of hard to do the festival and this.
Well, you just said you're going to be there at 2.
I will. I'll walk from the end of the common down to the bandstand.
But you don't want to get up and
How's
say
that?
anything.
Couldn't you do it, Allan?
Yeah, I can, but I'm going to tease you a little bit first.
No. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll say something and we'll present the cane to her. Who's bringing the cane?
the cane is not going to be presented. It will be there, but we're not actually giving that to her.
Okay, who's bringing the cane to the site?
I will contact Lynn Smith or Kathy Marat to bring it.
And you'll have one of them bring it.
Yes.
And then after they say okay, you'll follow up to make sure that they actually have it there that day.
Yes.
You're going to be there that day, right?
Yes, she'll be there all day.
Okay, all right. So either Kathy or Lynn will bring the cane. So at the appropriate time, I'll get up and I'll welcome everybody, say a few words about the cane. Would you get me some information on the cane, the historical background on it?
I read all up on it because I had no idea.
Well, then maybe you should speak.
No.
Okay. All right. Just give me something so
We're all passing the buck.
I want to say something more than here's the cane. Okay. All right. So just give me a fact sheet on it, and I'll put together a 30-second presentation. I think that's more than enough time on this.
Yes.
All right. Then we'll actually present the cane to her. We physically hand her the cane. Am I correct?
No, she said.
No, she doesn't get to take the cane home with her. But I think,
Give the other guy, I wasn't there, but from what I gathered, they did not, they just gave him a plaque.
to take home. But the cane itself, Kathy and Lynn are going to bring the cane. I'll take the cane from them, hold it up for everybody to see, and explain about, I'll hold the cane while I'm giving the talk. But then, for photos, I assume somebody's going to be there to take a photo.
Yes, yes.
Lynn will probably do that.
Yes.
I'll actually hand the cane to Mrs. Fenn?
Then.
Venn. I will hand the cane to Mrs. Venn. We will both be holding onto the cane. After the photos are done, I'll take the cane back, hand it back to Kathy, because Lynn will be busy with the photos. We'll thank everybody for coming to the presentation, and we'll thank Mrs. Venn and wish her well.
Okay, now.
And give her, we also have the plaque. Do you have the plaque?
I called Engrave it, they will have it ready by Friday.
Okay, so you're bringing the plaque.
Yes. I
Okay,
will hand-
so at this ceremony at 2 o'clock, you will be standing there with the plaque. So in addition,
You got it?
You're getting closer and closer.
I don't want to stand around at 2 o'clock and start putting a plan together. Okay?
I agree.
I will make
All right.
sure the plaque is right there.
All right. Otherwise, it's hard to present it to her if it's not. Okay. So we'll do the photo with the cane. Then I'll hand the cane to Kathy. I'll take the plaque from you, and then pose for a photo with Mrs. Venn and the plaque.
All three of you need to.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
But I'll be the one holding the plaque when I give it to her. And then after those photos, then I'll let go of the plaque. Just the opposite of what I did with the cane. Okay.
Okay,
Just make sure
All
she
right.
doesn't
Sounds-
let go at the same time.
sounds wonderful.
All right.
Now, what's Bob Hall supposed to be doing? Why is he, I don't understand.
He was invited because he had done something with the cane. I forget what it was. I don't know.
He did something with the cane?
Working up a history on it or something.
Kathy mentioned it last week. I'm not quite sure exactly. She just requested that maybe he be present. He's what, 93?
He's up there. I do know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am just inviting him to come, not as a participant.
As an observer.
Okay then.
I'll call Kathy in the morning.
Okay, why don't you have her call Bob? I'll call him, but this is kind of awkward. You're not part of the ceremony, Bob, but why don't you come and join us?
In the ceremony.
You're the next runner-up.
He's not. He is not.
Nope.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Do you know who is?
His wife.
Oh, really?
Okay, so we have a plan for Saturday.
Yes, thank
Good.
you.
Now I feel a whole lot better.
Oh, good. We're glad you feel better.
So wear your nice clothes. And
What?
wear some nice clothes.
I am.
Dress up and.
Well, you'll be the only one. Yeah, because we will be working all day, so.
This is what I'm wearing.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Anything else on Boston Cane?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. Troy Mills parking lot.
Heard nothing.
Okay. Do we have the planning board here yet?
I don't see anybody.
Nobody out in the hall?
Somebody slammed the door.
That was the trustees.
That the trustees
Yeah,
just
they're-
left.
Okay. All right. Let's get on to new business. New Primex letter about roller skating. Last week we said that the response that we got from the attorney at Primex did not answer the questions that we had. So Alissa contacted them and said, hey, could you please answer the question? And this is what we got back. This is from Mike Ricker, General Counsel for Primex. My honest opinion is that roller skating is relatively dangerous compared to many other activities. That said, liability is going to be remote because of our immunity laws so long as the activity isn't on Troy premises. They could ask to be an additional insured for claims related to the roller skating activity. That would be up to Hinsdale to approve, though. We could add Troy as an additional covered party if Hinsdale asked us to. I'm assuming the way he worded that, that means that they are the insurance carrier for Hinsdale. So
it sounds like it's a go.
it's a go, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if Hinsdale contacted Primex and had us as a named insured on their liability policy.
Okay.
And that's a common thing.
Can I throw a wrench in the mix now?
Sure.
Marlboro just threw a hook out there too.
Okay.
That they might be wanting to ask us to do the same thing.
All right.
So
That's not a wrench. That's if the rec committee wants to do it, subject to the same conditions.
Right.
Named
Right.
insured.
okay.
Would you agree, Barb?
I totally agree.
Okay. Named insured is the magic words.
Okay.
And we want a copy of it.
Okay.
How much is this going to be taken away from our community by having you guys go and do all this other events?
I have no idea.
It shouldn't at all.
Just wondering.
It shouldn't at all. Because we only have to technically send 2 people. And that's just to unload and load and
I
to
thought you
hand out
had
the
to give
skates.
them the skate guards too.
If they want them, they can provide their own. We're just saying that we have several people that do it on our own. Francis Fournier, myself, and I can't remember the other guy's name with the horse.
All right. Well, that's for the rec committee to work out.
Okay.
Whatever works out best for you guys, as long as we're not on the hook for anything.
Okay.
Okay.
I will pass that to.
Okay, continuing on new business, resignation letter from Lisa Stearns for the Troy Redevelopment Group. She's just putting it in writing. It's really a non-issue because the term's all expired. Complaint for the mill parking lot. Someone on Monadnock Street has complained that I'll read what it says, fence around parking lot is falling down with barbed wire, hanging into my yard, and landscaping inside fence, block view of road. I took a drive by there and looked at it, and you really can't see from the road. So what I'd like to do is to get Jimmy to go over there and take a look at it. And The issue here, though, is we don't own the mill.
No, but that's a danger.
It is. So what I'd like to do is, even though, the mill ownership, maybe we do own it, maybe we don't. We don't really know. It's still up in the air, and who knows when that's ever going to get resolved. But at the same time, if there's a hazard here, we need to do something about it. So, Alissa, would you bring this to Jim's attention? Ask him to go over there and take a look at it. I drove by. This is the house right opposite Mill Street. And there's a big parking lot there for the mill with a fence around it with barbed wire on top.
Yeah.
And I pulled up in front and could not see where the fence was leaning in. It goes back into the woods behind the house. And so have Jim contact the homeowners and make an appointment to get over there and look at it and see what it would take to fix it. Probably just means pulling it back and securing it into the parking lot so that it's not hanging over into their yard. Any questions on that? That's the end of new business. Still nobody here from planning board. All right, let's. We also have a letter here from Cy Little. Dear members of the board, this is about Troy Ambulance. Mr. Donovan, that's from the Attorney General's office, has authorized the withdrawal of the action against Troy Ambulance. He made a note with respect to how the funds are held, and I'm enclosing that letter. I suggest you make the correction he has mentioned. And this is the letter from the Attorney General. Only 2 paragraphs. Huh? Dear Mr. Little, thank you for your letter of September 13th, 2017. We accept the accounting from the town of Troy as to its use of the assets of Troy Ambulance, Inc. We have no objection to you filing a report with the Superior Court indicating that the matter is concluded. One comment. The funds at PDIP, what is that?
Police department.
That's
PD.
where we have our capital reserve funds and such.
That's a
Trustees.
financial institution
Yeah.
of some kind?
Yeah.
Okay. The funds at PDIP apparently are held in a capital reserve fund for ambulance purposes. Technically, they should be held by the trustees of trust funds as a trust fund for ambulance purposes. So long as the funds continue to be used for ambulance purposes, we are not going to raise an issue. All right, so
Are there any, how many, what are we talking as far as funds are concerned? It can't be much.
I think about 150 grand, isn't it?
I don't think it's that much. No.
All right, and the trustees have already left the building, right? All right.
Yes.
All right, I'll take this with me. Why do you give me that look?
Can we photocopy it and then you can take it?
Sure.
Okay, great.
At the hearing, we'll see the trustees, and before the hearing, we'll talk to them and see what we have to do. Okay. So let me take a copy of that with me. Well, I can pick it up tomorrow when I bring the recording in. Okay, and we have something else here from Cy. Enclosed, find a motion to withdraw action regarding the above filing with the court. I think this is the same thing. Oh, this is Cy's motion to the court to withdraw the action against Troy Ambulance. Okay, any questions on anything we've covered under that?
Yeah, I have a question on this.
All right.
Now, if this goes into a trust fund, can the ambulance continue to use it as operating funds?
I don't know.
It's very important that we find that out.
Well,
Because this is what,
they should have either a revolving checking account or a 2220 account.
we do,
All right, then why would that money?
because there's not a lot, they do not have a lot of funding in those 2 accounts. Is that not correct? We are not
There is an
flushing cash.
Well,
in either
this,
one.
what they're talking about here, this is money that would be saved long-term to buy a new ambulance.
Oh, right.
Right.
But, and it's,
Go ahead. I'm just.
okay. I was just thinking that at the moment, they were counting on these funds. I thought that they would be able to use them for operating expenses, seeing as how we wait so long for like any monies coming in, insurance purposes. things like that. It's very, very slow.
Okay.
And now we aren't even operating during the week with the ambulance. We don't have the people, and that's an issue she's dealing with at the moment.
Mhm.
And the funds aren't there. So once it goes into a trust fund, what I'm thinking is they will have only long-term access, which may be a problem.
From that money, yeah.
Yeah, which may be a problem. So I think, is there some way that we can invest it that if the ambulance would happen to need it, that it would be there?
I don't know.
Okay, can we inquire?
Trustees are the ones who know all about that
Yeah,
stuff.
so can we inquire?
You're going to be at the public hearing, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
And bring it up with the trustees.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Nobody here from planning, huh?
You want me to call Bobby?
They don't want a budget.
Well, last I heard is they were going to stay with the same numbers, but.
Yeah, but you can't.
Right.
Hearing it
Can't
and
do that.
yeah, being told
You
it.
want me to give
Now,
Bobby
Bob
the
Hebert is not here, but he did tell us, because he's out of town.
Right.
He said that he wanted to go with the same
He came
budget
in
as
ahead
last
of
year.
time.
Who did?
Just looking at his
Bob
budget,
Hebert.
emergency management. His budget for 2017 was $4,571, of which he has spent $560. This is why we need to have people come in to talk with us, because I don't want to approve this budget until I talk to him, because I have questions. So
12%.
let's table the emergency management budget, and when Bob gets back from wherever he is, would you reschedule him?
I will.
We do- we
But
do.
every year, he's the one that asks, puts a warrant article, and whatever money's left over, it goes into an emergency
Right.
management fund to roll over.
Right.
So what you're saying is he would roll over the balance.
But that has nothing to do, we shouldn't be budgeting, we shouldn't be over budgeting in order to give him money to roll over to capital reserves. The budget should reflect what he expects to spend. And it's not doing that.
How can you expect an emergency?
Yes.
Well,
Look at last night.
let's look at the budget here. Budgeted emergency management payroll, budgeted 1,530, spent 0.
They only get paid at the end of the year.
Okay? Equipment purchase, budgeted 2,500, spent 0.
Well, I think we need to get his take on it.
Yeah.
And that's correct. I mean,
Yeah, I understand you can't anticipate an emergency,
no.
but at the same time, I have questions about that budget that we need to get answered. So can we reschedule him?
Is
Late.
that gonna mess up the budget committee?
Yeah, too bad.
Okay.
Don't leave
Only
it.
because you don't sit on it no more.
That's right.
It's messed up. Just saying.
All right, so what do we do about planning?
Well, let's take a look at theirs.
Call Bobby up.
Let's
I'm
just take
talking
a,
to John Collins right now, seeing if he'll get a hold of him real quick. I just didn't want to make a phone call during the meeting.
I don't have any questions on theirs. Theirs looks pretty straightforward. They're spending, I look at things like
Well, legal they went over.
yeah, but
And-
the ones I question are the ones where they budget a large amount of money and spend very little. Why do they need that money again? And I don't see
Okay,
that. I don't
well-
see that here.
Well, the consultant.
Yeah, but that's just because Carol hasn't billed us yet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Just as long as you know.
and books and periodicals,
they overspent.
yeah,
Yeah.
by 224%.
Yeah. Yeah, but just looking at this, I'm comfortable keeping their budget at 6,500 for another year.
I'm not. Why can't we? Travel reimbursement, 140%.
Yeah, because they spent 70 and they only budgeted 50.
Right, but the point is, maybe that does need to be increased a little, so they
Right.
are not doing this every year. Seminars, 110%. I'd like to know why the periodicals went up
All right.
so drastically. Maybe this is not enough
All
for
right.
what they do.
Alissa, would you reschedule the planning board?
I'm just waiting for a text message back to see if he probably forgot.
This is important.
I don't know if, is anybody being called before?
They were all given papers in
I
their
understand
boxes.
that.
No, we're not babysitters. We are not babysitters. I have plenty to do without babysitting people.
I don't have Henry's number.
We could reschedule planning board and emergency management for November 13th here and November 30th with the budget committee. Oh wait, no, let's change that because we've switched around the police department and the highway department. Let's make it October 23rd and November 2nd. That's where the highway department is now coming in.
October 23rd for emergency management in the planning board.
Yep.
Here.
Right now, I'm looking at the old schedule, but I know that last week we switched the police department with highway department.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Highway.
Right now, October 23rd, you should have highway department coming in here.
Yes.
Let's add planning and emergency management to that night, October 23rd, which will put them at the budget committee on November 2nd.
Okay, maybe it's just as well.
Okay.
Everybody's
And
tired.
if anybody says, we just want the same budget as last year, just tell them, no. If they don't come in here, we're going to slash their budget. Okay. Barbara, do you have anything else to discuss tonight?
Yeah, I do. I talked to John Collins, and everybody on the new committee, we are planning to meet within hopefully 2 weeks.
This is
But-
the ordinance committee.
Correct. But and the zoning, it's zoning and ordinance. But everybody's schedule will have to coincide, that it's good for everyone. If somebody cannot show up, we will not do it. It's going to be a totally working committee. Everybody on the committee will be assigned work. And by our next meeting, we will expect results from everybody so we can talk about it, discuss it, whatever. So that's what we plan on doing there. That's where that stands. Did Marcy tell you about her bites? Okay. This past week, I think it was last Monday when I was in here, Marcy is getting bit, but she said it happens at this time every single year. And she thinks it's fleas. It's not from Sky because it's been happening for years.
What?
Bites. She's getting bit
Oh, by whom?
by fleas,
Oh, okay.
by people.
You weren't being clear about this. I didn't know what you're talking about.
Well, I thought I was. Okay. So anyway, I said, and I talked to Jimmy about it, but there's really no spray.
This is in the
There-
office.
Yes, right
Oh,
next
all right,
door.
all right.
Okay. There really is not a spray on the market that we can purchase that will not affect Sky or people. We have food. There's really nothing that we can use that will not be harmful. The man that sprays my house, though, and he will be at my house on Wednesday, it is people safe, pet safe, and food safe. It can be eaten and will not affect a human, but he has a patent on it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind if I found out how much it would cost to maybe spray their office? We don't have a problem in here. Do you?
No.
Me neither. So, and if it's reoccurring this time every year, I guess they don't bring it over here. Ask her
You
about
don't
it
need,
tomorrow.
Barbara, you
What?
don't need us to agree if you're just going to inquire to find out what it would cost.
But, what would you consider reasonable? You don't know?
I have no idea what that would
Yes.
normally cost, so I don't know where to begin.
But the thing is, we will have nothing to compare it with because everything else out on the market is not compatible to humans.
Well, here's the thing. If you come back with a quote
Okay?
and it sounds reasonable, we can vote on it.
Okay, then we'll...
But if you just want us to pre-authorize a
No, I
certain
don't
amount,
want you to do that.
that's what the quote would end up being.
Okay. No, it would not.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
my guy would not do
Okay.
that. No.
Shouldn't we find out exactly what it is first we're supposed to be spraying for?
Well, she said it was fleas. Like, apparently she killed one.
Okay, so I don't get why they would just be fleas in one office. I mean, I've had fleas in my house way years ago, and like they're everywhere. You can't. It's
Well, ask her about it tomorrow. See what she tells you. Because she said this time every year. Every single year.
well, I get hives the same time in May every year when I'm in here. So what am I gonna do?
So I don't know. I told her I would ask.
All right.
Okay, so I did that. So I will ask him on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay, another thing that someone came in and complained about was they had information, someone had approached them about information that had been in a non-public meeting. And they repeated to this person exactly what it was that transpired at the non-public meeting. So we don't know who let the information out there, but they did know.
Okay. So someone
Came
spoke to
in-
you.
No, spoke to us.
Okay. Someone came in the office,
Yes.
spoke to the two of you.
Yes.
And was this someone who had been in a non-public session with us?
Yes.
Okay. And somehow the word got out?
Mm-hmm. So I'm just
All right.
letting you
So
know.
this person said that another person told them.
Yes.
Charlie told me this, and that was in a non-public session.
Right.
All right. Did she ask, he or she asked Charlie, I'm going to use the name Charlie, where he heard it?
That was not repeated to us.
All right. That's the first thing that I would do is try and track it back.
Well, do you know what? I don't know that we want to pursue it that far. It's got to stop. This is the second time it's happened. But
What was the first time?
months ago, and I can't remember what it was. I had talked to you about it, and yes.
Okay. I don't recall.
All right.
It's the
Anyways,
first time I'm hearing about it.
really? Okay. If we pursue it, whoever it was could lose their job, but that entails a lot. So do we want to pinpoint the person that's doing this? Then what do we do if that's the course you want to take?
Well, it depends. Is at this point, I don't know what the issue was, and we can't discuss it here.
Correct.
It would depend on how serious that issue was. That would determine how serious the breach was.
A breach is a breach. It makes
You're
no
right.
difference whether it's
But the
serious
action
or
that you
not.
take might depend on the severity of the breach.
I know, but what action can be taken other than losing the position?
It depends on what position you're talking about.
These positions sitting at this table.
If a member of this board reveals information from a non-public session, then if it goes to the Superior Court, and I don't know who would take it there,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, then a selectman can be removed from that position.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so why would we pursue what you wanted to pursue to even start that process if we're not taking it that far?
Well, it would, again, depending on the severity, if it's something minor, and we find out that Curtis is the one breaching, then I would say, hey, Curtis, let's talk about this. Let's go over the rules here and make sure you understand what 91A requires.
And I think, I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think it was minor. It still was a breach, but it was minor.
All right. Also keep in mind that the obligation to keep private things from a non-public session only apply to members of the public body. So, for example, let's say that Norm comes in here to discuss something in a non-public session.
Mhm.
You, me, Curtis, we're bound by 91A not to
You're
reveal
right.
it.
You're right.
Norm can go out and tell anybody he wants.
Well, we know.
Alissa can. Now, Alissa is not subject to legal action because she's not a member of this board, but her job could be in danger.
Right, and I would not have pursued this had I not known the person was being truthful. So,
Okay?
I'm just not doing this to be
All right.
flippant.
Well, what would you like to do?
I don't want to do anything. All I wanted to do was get it out here. That
Okay.
it was something that needs to be adhered to.
Okay? Then let's
Religiously.
let's just review the rules then. There are only certain things that can be discussed in a non-public session. If we go into a non-public session, anything that we discuss in that non-public session that is germane to the reason that we went into the non-public session
Correct.
cannot be revealed. Now, if during that non-public session you mentioned that you're going to get your hair done tomorrow, that's not privileged information. If somebody repeats that, they're not violating 91A.
I know that.
Because that should not have been discussed in the
Right.
non-public session. But anything that is on topic in non-public cannot be discussed
Correct.
outside of that non-public session.
You're right. Okay.
Do you understand that, right?
Yeah.
I understand it. Do you understand it? Do you understand it?
Okay.
All right.
That's it. That's all
Okay.
I had.
Curtis, anything?
I have nothing.
Alissa? Nothing? Mr. Whitney? No. Mr. Rose? Mrs. Rose? Nothing. Then I move that we adjourn this meeting at 8:02 p.m.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:02 p.m.